Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Give me an emoji if you can hear me down below. Want to welcome everybody to your hump day. Hoop Spaces on a Wednesday. Beautiful blue skies and sunshine in the world of basketball as we have a great WNBA Finals. Fantastic Euro Cup going on. That Euro basket tournament is something else. And news and notes from the NBA, including the Phoenix Suns owner being suspended. Welcome, everybody, to Hoop Spaces on a Wednesday. Be back in about 10 seconds. All right. Good morning. Technical difficulties. Man, I tell you, I'd opened up a couple and I couldn't take myself off of mute. I had to shut down everything and restart it, but we are here and we are better than ever. Welcoming you to a wonderful Wednesday. I hope that you are having a good day, and I want to thank you for spending any part of your day here with us here on Hoop Spaces. Got some great basketball to talk right into it. Last night, the Aces on top, 85-71. It was a dominating performance. They are up 2-0 with the ability to sweep. And more than likely, after seeing what the body language was in the second half for the Connecticut Sun, I asked myself, do they have enough in them to do what they did against the Sky and come back and respond with a super emotionally and a charged, energetic win? But we'll get to that after we get to last night. Again, final score 85-71. I've got some notes that I took from watching the game. Bonner, Thomas, Jones, Williams, and Heidemann were your starters for the Sun. Your starters for the Aces, Wilson, Stokes, Gray, Plum, and Young. And right off the gate, we understood one thing and one thing only. Becky Hammond yelled at all her players, attack, attack, attack. And that's what they did out the gate, going up 23-15 in the first quarter. But more importantly is how they did it. They played phenomenally inside and out. If you saw, they got Asia her touches inside. Connecticut had to respond to collapse. And then this time, instead of them taking the quick open shot, they actually took their time and attacked the basket using Kelsey Plum and Chelsea Gray and did some kickouts as well, some wraparound passes to get easy buckets. And that, ladies and gentlemen, if you watched, allowed them to play at a phenomenal pace last night. In fact, if they do that again, they probably run Connecticut out of the building and we get a sweep. Down below, we have a whole bunch of people who always come in. We want to say thank you. We see Jay Trent, Just 30, Justin Patton, aka JP, the franchise, Jose, Danny D, Zach, and Steve McKenzie. I see Protein P popping in here, getting ready to come back on a more full time basis as the NBA comes upon us. But one thing I want to say, I was really impressed with what the Las Vegas Aces were able to do, shooting 33 for 64. But again, it was how they did it. If you want a mic, go ahead and request it. Come on up. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and go through these notes. Shooters for the Aces seemed far more relaxed this game, and they seemed far more loose than they were in the opening game. Even though some of them only took two shots, such as Kia Stokes. Jackie Young only took six. She was 2 for 6, but none of them seemed hurried or pressured. Kelsey Plum was 1 for 6 from deep, but she, instead of settling for those shots after her shot wasn't falling, decided to attack the basket, listening to Becky Hammond. I also want to say that ball movement doesn't necessarily mean everybody is going to get an assist. Ball movement means everybody touches the ball, and that was something that the Aces did also fantastically within the first three quarters. They kind of eased up in the fourth, but Chelsea Gray led with 8. Kelsey Plum had 7, but everybody seemed to touch the ball in the offensive possessions, except for a couple when Asia didn't touch it. But that was just because Jackie Young or Chelsea Gray took advantage of the opportunity to drive, and Asia just wasn't there to get the ball. All right, up on top, we have Danny D, and we have James getting ready to come up. Another one that I have here, Jackie Young, and this is important in the essence of how efficient the offense was. I told you she was 2 for 6. She still tied for the lead in plus minus in the box score, but more importantly, she led the starters in plus minus, not named Asia Wilson, right? So that means the offense, in essence, even with Jackie Young going 2 for 6, was so efficient that 2 for 6 night didn't even bother her in the box score. So imagine if she'd went 4 for 6, she probably would have led the entire team with it around 22, 23. So shout out to Jackie Young's phenomenal team play. She was there to pick up where the team left off in terms of getting those hockey assists. All right, to the victor goes the spoils. James, I'm going to ask you to hold off for a second. We're going to get Danny D up here first. Danny, good morning. Congratulations. The Aces look like they're on the verge of a sweep. Your thoughts?
Um, my thoughts are game 2 went the way I knew it was going to go. Yeah, they only scored 67 points in the first game, but I knew if they played with pace, they had more ball movement, then good things were going to happen. With Jackie Young, she's playing great defense, in my opinion, on DeWanna Bonner. Because remember, in that first half, she only had 0 points. And then she finally scored 2, and I don't think Jackie was even on her. That's why she was able to get that 2 points that she scored for the whole game. Um, you know, it was a good consistent first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter game. I could definitely tell that they did everything that Becky wanted them to do in game 1. And Kelsey Plum said, "You know what? I could do more than shoot." And she ate up Courtney Williams. I don't know if she thought Courtney Williams was barbecue chicken, as Shaq said, but she sure thought it was. Asia didn't allow them to speed her up. She was patient. She waited. She hit her shots when she needed. I think everybody just calmed down once they got the pace of the game from game 1. Connecticut can only play one way, and that's to be physical, but then that physicality probably takes a lot on them in their offensive side. Brianna Jones wasn't effective. Well, she scored 12 points, but it wasn't like a whole lot of points, and they got 6 points from Odyssey, Sims, and Keratin. So, I feel real good. But I still say this. I'm not going to sit here and say sweep. I'll be respectful. I believe Connecticut going to play with pride in game 3 on Thursday night. Now, I don't know what that one-day turnaround will do for them, but we shall see.
All right. Another thing to note is that Connecticut, in all of their playoff victories, had a decisive rebounding advantage against their opponent. Last night, both teams tied for 34, so Connecticut didn't really have the advantage that they've kind of built their team around. James, good morning to you, sir. Hope your hump day is going well. Your thoughts on last night's game?
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Chris. Yeah, man, I'm kind of surprised last night game. I was hoping Connecticut could have come with it, but again, like I say, Becky Hammond, she should be in the NBA, not the WNBA coaching, because the Aces played on ice when the Connecticut Suns played in the sand. They were slow on their feet. They were they had times where they could have had a quick basket. They missing shots. Not only that, they were waiting. I mean, if you get the ball across court, why are you waiting to set up to run a play? Go ahead and go. The best, like when I coach or teach talk basketball, I always tell kids, look, the best play is when the play break down. That's when you have your most. That's when you can score the best. Is when the play break down. Don't rely on the play. They get the ball across court. They want to set up play and all, don't. I mean, I was like, man, why you don't get the ball across court? You don't got what 2-on-3 or whatever. Try and get to the basket and get a foul. They want to pull the ball back out. They want set. They want to run play, and when the play break down, they get stuck. It's like the play breakdown. We don't know where else to go from here. And if you notice, they were the Aces. I mean, the Aces in shape. The Aces could have played another game after that game. So I was like, man, it all comes down to coaching though, because you got to let the ball move freely and the players move freely. If you look at Becky, she just stayed there. She ready to give them the play. The play didn't work. They already know what to do. But with the Connecticut Suns, they just get stuck. They're like they were stuck in the sand. So I don't know. It's gonna be a sweep, but I hope not though. For Junkel, I mean, I like to see. I like to go to the Bahamas and celebrate when
Um, the free throw disparity
she
is not
if she
there.
wins.
Oh, you're back. Okay, my bad. You got cut off. We missed the
Yeah, I
last
said.
like 10
Yeah, I'm
seconds.
saying I like to go down to the Bahamas and celebrate with John Carroll and the rest of the Bohemian crew if she wins. But this can be a sweep, and I feel bad for her because she tried, but she had so much tragedy lately. So, but anyway, I'm just disappointed in the Connecticut Sun coaching. That's my take on the game.
Yeah, and I was going to back that up. The free throw disparity wasn't there. Connecticut made one more than Las Vegas, and there was only a four take disparity, and it was actually in favor of the Sun. It wasn't really a 3 point disparity, as Connecticut made three and Las Vegas made six. So that's a 9 point. Minus one is an 8 point, with the Aces still winning by 14. There's 6 points unaccounted for, and those are the 6 points that you're alluding to, James, that comes from coaching. So that right there is a basic, understanding of what coaching values are. Right now in game two, 6 points to Becky Hammond. That's how I view it. James, what do you think?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And the thing is, she ready. She got them in shape. They were in shape for this series, for the playoffs. So, I mean, again, you know, it's good to see highlights of Connecticut Sun shooting half court shots and all this other stuff. But when it comes down to it, it all boils down to coaching. Fourth quarter, when you get to that 4 minutes in the fourth quarter, if you're not doing nothing, actually, let's back up. In the second quarter, the ending of the second quarter determines if you're gonna win the game in the fourth quarter. Because if you look at the body language of Connecticut Suns in the second quarter, they were gassed. They're already gassed. So the game was over. Now it comes down to coaching. How are you going to manage the players in the game, and how are you going to motivate your players to finish strong? In the third quarter, it wasn't there. It wasn't there. I mean, I guess I forgot how many minutes was in the third quarter when you see when Becky called timeout. You see Courtney bend over and like, dang, I'm glad she called that timeout. I mean, come on.
Danny, your thoughts on coaching, right? Like it really comes down to it when the stats are eerily similar, right? It's execution and coaching, because the job of a coach is to put your players in the best position to execute, and Becky Hammond seems to have done that better than Kurt. What do you got for the coaching aspect?
I mean, in regards to the coaching aspect, Becky knows what buttons to push. She gave De'Erica a little bit more of play to this game, and it paid off. De'Erica had some timely blocks. She played some good defense on in the post. When they got close in the third, I think they got down by 3 points. I haven't rewatched the game yet. 3 points. She called that timeout. I don't know what she said, but you could tell in that one little clip they showed where she told them, she said, I love what y'all doing on the boards, because at one point they were beating them. No, what was in the boards? It was points in the paint. At one point they had more points at them in the paint. What was it, 14-24? I think somewhere in the second quarter, third, somewhere around in there. And she told them, she said, I'm happy that you guys got more points in the paint. That makes me happy. And she smiled. And you could tell how relaxed and confident everybody is in her coaching and what they do. And I agree with James. That one time when Becky called that timeout, you could tell they were gassed. I kept on talking about conditioning. People kept on talking about their bench. And I kept on saying, them girls' cardio was up. Okay? Asia practiced, trained over the summer, or not over the summer, over the off season, like it was 82-game season. They're conditioned, y'all. They can handle this. Like you said, they probably could go another quarter if they had to. They went to overtime, I would still feel confident, because they don't look gassed. They don't look tired. They ain't holding on to their knees, because they don't play like that. But the coaching, Becky's just excellent. And Pop was in the audience too, and Pop came down and talked to them after the fact. That's I just love Becky. And Becky don't need to be in nobody's NBA. Becky is right where she needs to be. which is more women coaches from who played in the W come and coach in the W. I like it that way.
I want to give a shout out to Aquana Williams as well. She had some interesting shot selections, but she put the pressure on Connecticut when she came in. Jackie Young and Kelsey Plum controlled the pace of that game, in my opinion. Like Chelsea Gray took advantage of what Kelsey Plum and Jackie Young was able to do, freeing her to allow her to be that attacking offensive player. And they needed somebody to keep that same energy, and Williams brought that off the bench even though she was 2 for 8. It was pretty entertaining. I wanted to make sure she got a shout out. If you're down
Hey,
below, yeah, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, Chris. One more thing, and I'm just gonna give this, and if they end up pulling this off in 3 or 4 or 5, whatever, I don't put all my ducks in the basket or eggs in the basket, whatever the old saying is. But shout out to Bill Lambier. He told them, he said, "Look, I don't know how much longer I can coach, but I need y'all to find you a coach." Because he wanted to make sure that they found the right coach for a team that, hello, he built. Because he was the general manager. He drafted Jackie. He drafted Kelsey. He got um, uh, Chelsea to come. He drafted Asia. He built that team, that core that you see there. He got De'Erica. He built that team. And as much respect I want Becky to have, I want Bill Lambier to get that same respect.
All right,
And for the love of the game.
yeah. I wanted to give anybody down below an opportunity to also come on up and express what you thought about the game last night, or if you think it is going to be a sweep. I think James and Danny, they're hesitant to say, but if you read between the lines, I think they think it's a sweep as well. And I will say I think it is as well because the Sun could not stop Plum or Young, either Kelsey or Jackie, from controlling the pace of play. And that's different from again what Chelsea Gray is able to do offensively, and without a viable number two next to John Quell, I don't see anything happening. And the one thing that I wanted to ask is, this is another game where I thought John Quell had a turnover, and it was around that timeout, Danny, what you were talking about. Courtney Williams was gassed, but like they were within 3 or 5, I can't remember. And there's a timeout that happened that followed a John Quill Jones turnover, right? And like that was the turnover that I think stymied Connecticut's energy. And then like there's I think a 3-point flurry from Las Vegas, and then they just sailed into the second into halftime with the win and sailed through the second quarter. Is John Quell just alone? Like Brianna Jones is good. 8T is good, but like they're not the caliber of number 2 that Las Vegas has next to.
Say, Chris.
Yeah. Go ahead, James. We lost you for a second. All right. He must have gotten a call. K Dot lose up from the 9450 until James can come back. What's up, K Dot? How you doing?
Hey yo, what's going on?
Sorry, but I get cut off.
Good.
Sorry, but I get cut off. But what I'm saying is, come down. Sorry, but Chris. Sorry, but it come down to coaching. I don't care what team you have. It come down to coaching. You have to know your personnel on the floor and on the bench. And if you can use the personnel, not let's say, Courtney was gas. You put the freshman in for a few minutes to give her a play because that freshman is pretty good. So it comes down to you have to be able to manipulate the game within the game and make changes. But that coach, he just I don't know. He don't like they don't have that freedom to freelance is what the word I'm looking for. They cannot freelance like the Aces can freelance.
I can agree with that. K Dot, come in here with what your thought was.
Yeah, so of course. Oh, and good morning, everyone. Shout out to everybody listening. I see Malika down there. What's up? What's up, Danny D? What's up, James? Yeah, it's really really interesting how what everybody's talking about and the adjustment that Las Vegas made. to actually, be a little more dominant. A lot of things you have to take into consideration when it comes to the Las Vegas Aces. In the playoffs this year, their game twos have always been better than their game ones because they've always found the right adjustment based off of how they played in game one. You saw it in the Phoenix series. You saw it in the last series with Seattle. And you clearly saw it last night. The biggest thing that Connecticut has a problem with, as great as their defense is, a lot of people don't realize that you can have great one-on-one defense. You can have great help side defense off of double teams, off of reading the right rotations. But that's all predicated on the ball sticking. And what I mean by that is when the ball is being dribbled and not being moved via passes. The Las Vegas Aces found a way to move the ball and force Connecticut to move laterally defensively, and it got them gassed. There were a couple times where there were just so many great sets ran by Coach Becky Hammond where you saw a lot of off-ball movement from Jackie Young, from Raquana Williams. Even when Kelsey didn't have the ball in her hands, she was moving more. You didn't see a lot of that in game one. And a lot of times when you're doing back screens, when you're doing off-ball screens, that kind of tires out your defense. And I think that's what Coach Becky Hammond found out in game one. And that's what she utilized more in game two. Hence the reason why game two was such more of a success for the Las Vegas Aces. The counter to that for Connecticut is they have to make sure that they allow the ball to suffocate, meaning Chelsea Gray or Kelsey Plum has to be more of a one-on-one player. I don't know, that's easier said than done, of course, but that's going to have to be the game plan. They didn't make the game ugly like they did in game one. And I think that it's going to be something to see coming into game three on tomorrow, to see how much energy Connecticut is going to have. My biggest thing is you signed DeWanna Bonner for the sole purpose of being DeWanna Bonner in the finals, being DeWanna Bonner in the postseason. And we haven't seen that DeWanna Bonner yet. And it could be because of so much defensive assignment that she has to take, defensively. So it's really, really, interesting to see what Connecticut comes out with as a counter. And, of course, I'm interested in looking at that. But that's some of the observations that I saw in game two. One last thing, and I'll close. The double drag action that you saw last night compared to what you saw in game one for the Las Vegas Aces definitely helped them win this game. Connecticut does not know how to they don't know how to defend the double drag action. The double drag action is basically two players screening for a ball handler and the ball handler making a decision on someone within that rolling, popping, or making a play downhill. Chelsea and Kelsey did a great job going downhill on those double drags because Jonquel didn't know whether to stunt, whether to hard hedge, or whether to blitz. When they put Alyssa Thomas on Chelsea Gray, she basically tried to fight through the screens. You can't fight through the screens when you have someone like a De'Erica Hamby or Asia Wilson slipping that said screen, and a great playmaker in Chelsea Gray making those sound passes. Now, there were a couple where she was trying to do no looks and kind of like misdirections, and it was successful for Connecticut, but there were more plays that went well for Las Vegas than it did, for Connecticut. So that's just some of my observations.
All right. Appreciate it. Danny and James, anything you want to say in response? And then I've got one more note that I wanted to get to in regards to Connecticut as well.
I'm going to say this, and somebody's probably going to say this. I don't think even if Jasmine was healthy, I think they'll still be in the same predicament because they depend so much on their post players, which is nothing wrong with that. That's an old style. I feel like it's an old style of playing. Like I said, we're going more to positionless basketball, and your forwards and your centers sometimes are being more versatile. Um, they just don't score enough points, and that's all it is. And like you said, when you speed the game up, you play with rhythm, and things of the nature, move the ball, make cuts and stuff like that. You gotta that if you're not conditioned to play like that, and you're not allowed your defense to dictate the pace, then you end up with what you see in game two. Um, and like I said, I see a difference in this team. I see growth in this team. They don't panic like they used to, and it's a great thing to see. I'm still enjoying the game. I still think Connecticut can win game three. That's just me. I would like to be proven wrong. That'd be awesome. But I picked them in four. I'm sticking with it. But let's see what happens on Thursday.
All right, James, did you want to add anything?
Well, that's good luck to the Suns because they can need it. Because if Becky Hammond and Greg can be in the game or around the game, it's over. As sad as it sounds or may be, um, they gonna have to. The Suns gonna have to get a different coach in order to make it back to the championship. Because the way this coaching going, it's not gonna work. And we'll see what happens on Thursday. Thanks a lot, Chris.
All right, no problem. The next game is Thursday at 9 p.m. on ESPN. The Aces are going to be looking out to close out the Connecticut Sun. So the question that I have is, and I understand that in the WNBA they tend to run their teams lean. Most teams don't actually fill out the 12th roster spot, and most coaches seem to settle in on a 6 or 7 player rotation. My question is Connecticut just simply not deep enough, right? Like I look at the 67 that the Aces put up between Gray, Plum, and Wilson, right? The trio. And when you look at the design of the team of the Aces, they might not score, but the depth is apparent by the roles that they play. When you look at what Connecticut was able to do in game one and game two, in game one, they were able to slow down the trio that I just named for the Aces, and it kind of negated, the bench play. The one thing that I saw is Connecticut's bench is far outmatched by Las Vegas's bench just in the periphery play. Steals, blocks, rebounds, box outs. My question is this something where Connecticut just isn't deep enough, and we really should have given credit to the construction of the Aces and given them a bigger, berth or chance of a sweep? Anybody?
Yeah.
Well, oh, go
Sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead, Jay.
Go ahead, D.
Okay, well, yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people put so much emphasis on scoring nowadays. There are stuff or things that don't show up on a score sheet or on a box score. Rebounding. I mean, rebounding show up, but hustle plays. Kia Stokes got on the floor, y'all, and got got a ball off the ground and fought for it. Those hustle plays. You don't. Those don't always show up in the stat sheet. Energy is an important thing, and even if you don't score, do you play good defense? Do you put your hands up to prevent a pass? Are you boxing out people? Because that's something I saw. The guards were boxing out tonight, helping Asia out. Not tonight, last night, helping them last night. So those are things that you don't see. If people look at their bitch, say, "Oh, their bitch is weak," and blah blah blah. Not the greatest bitch. Yeah, I'll be the first person to say that. But do the people come out and provide the necessary punch, energy to do the stuff that doesn't get the celebration that maybe scoring and crossover and people does. And I think that's what Connecticut needs. I don't know what's going on with Tawana Bonner. I don't know if she's tired, but defense. Jackie Young didn't score a lot of points, but she out there putting energy and playing defense and keeping Tawana in check. So things like that matters, but it's not sexy. I know it's not the story, But those things do matter at the end of the day.
Definitely not sexy because they never showed in the highlights or the replays. James, your thoughts?
Yeah, D, you right. You hit the nail right on the head with that because, I mean, if you look at it, the Aces, I mean, they do the small things right, and that's the thing. That's the point. The coach it still come back down to coaching. The small things are done right with the Aces, and with the Suns. I don't know if something's going on behind the scenes with the Suns. I mean, because from the jump, you could have tell they wasn't in it. They wasn't in it. So yeah, you totally right, D.
All right, appreciate it. K Dot, you got anything you want to add in here? And then I see Malika Walker is down below. If you want to come up, Malika, to give us your thoughts, or 30 in dubs, please raise your hand and come on up. K Dot, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll just say this as far as like kind of like the differences between benches. Yeah, we've talked about the Aces not having a deep bench all season long, but that goes to conditioning, and I think that earlier in training camp, and even before that, Coach Becky Hammond, she stressed the idea of making sure that we're the most conditioned team in the league, because there was going to be a difference in what we saw with Coach Bill Laimbeer versus what she was going to do, and she had the team buy in really really early, even I believe prior to the draft. And one thing that excites me about the Las Vegas Aces is you can kind of tell that that conditioning, as of right now, is paying off. Now, Connecticut is actually, of course, the deeper team from a personnel standpoint. The problem is the personnel does not match the intensity of what the Aces are bringing. More importantly, in guard play. More importantly to that, point guard play. They have scoring guards, but they don't have an actual floor general compared to a Chelsea Gray on the other side, and they don't have anyone with the size defensively that can hold Chelsea Gray to a position of her being what we call normal. Chelsea Gray has been playing phenomenal throughout the entire playoffs, and her IQ, her size, her ability to um, manipulate the game the way she sees fit has been such a spectacular thing to see, and that's part of the problem. All on playoff long, I've been questioning the guard play of Connecticut, and you've had some ups, you've had some downs, and it's showing right now from that perspective, because you see that Kurt Miller is playing a whole bunch of big lineups with Natisha Hottoman not even being in, um, relying more so on Dewana Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, and Courtney Williams to take care of the ball handling and the play calling. So that's the biggest difference that I see, and it's definitely showing. And again, we just have to see what Connecticut does in Game 3 to try to overcome that.
All right. Malika Walker's up here. Malika, good morning. I hope you are enjoying your Wednesday morning. Thoughts on last night's game, and then we'll do a quick caveat and recap what the top of the 2023 WNBA draft might look like as I give you the odds of winning the number one pick, and give you the top 10 players ranked as of now by lines.com, which is a betting site that you can actually bet on draft prospects. It's phenomenally crazy how drafting has become its own sub genre in gambling. Malika, good morning. How you doing?
How you doing? I last night, I mean, when you look at, really what happened, I mean, you guys pretty much already discussed the ins and outs of what happened, but I mean, the Las Vegas Aces were hitting their 2 pointers, and they were able to get down three more 3 pointers. I mean, the rebounds, assists, steals, like blocks were pretty close. And but it was really, Las Vegas, they were hitting their shots, namely Kelsey Plum, like she said, in the post game, she finally showed up to the party. Like it was reported that Asia Wilson challenged her and basically was like, you got to get it together. And she challenged her before the game, and she showed up. Um, but I mean, some of these shooting field goal percentages are insane. Like Asia had a 77% um, field goal last night. Kelsey 53, Chelsea Gray 56. That's crazy. Like, I mean, that's they were hitting their shots. I mean, that's despite how Connecticut was definitely bringing bringing their defense and really trying to knock them off their heels a bit. Vegas just kept coming. So, I mean, they looked so defeated at the end of the game, and it was already talked about the coach's demeanor after the game. We'll see what happens in Connecticut, whether they can steal one and it won't be, like a sweep. I'm, like they showed up and with the Chicago series and pulled that out. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But Vegas is looking like they can sweep. I didn't see a sweep in the horizon. I actually had this going 4 or 5 games, but we'll see what happens in Connecticut. Um, yeah, tomorrow. I think the game should be Friday and not tomorrow, but I'm sure it's an ESPN inventory issue. But they're having to find they had tomorrow's games on the wrong day.
Yeah,
But that's a whole nother issue.
it's I believe college football on Friday night. I think if I
Yeah, that's the yeah, like
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't like it either. Again, for those who are listening who've never heard before, if you are at the finals, which is supposed to be your marquee event, you would want the best time slot, and there are very few time slots better than a Friday night for a championship game, as most people are already off, and we've already seen an increase in viewership, up 18%. Right, it just seems like a stubbing in your toe of scheduling, but it is at least, I guess, and I feel bad for saying that, on ESPN as opposed to ESPN2, right? Like maybe that's the only silver lining we could take from it, even though it kind of gives you a headache.
Well, also you got to keep in mind next week, regular fall television starts next week.
I,
So
hey,
you got to keep that in mind too. A lot of shows come back on, 911 come back on a Fox. I can't miss
never,
that.
never seen the episode. Never will. I,
Yeah,
I just found out the Emmys were last night.
yeah. No, the other
What?
night, Monday
I,
night. Yeah.
I there you go. I know. I don't care about the Emmys. I really, I just, I don't like. They're as overrated as French fries. Like I don't really care about.
Well, four black women won. One for writing the comedy. Zendaya won for drama. Again, Shirley Ralph won for best supported in a comedy, and Lizzo won for best competition show. So hey,
Hey, congratulations.
there you go. Come on now, Black Girl Magic. Don't act like that, sir. Come on now.
No, I'm happy for them. I've probably never seen any of their shows.
You will like Abbott Elementary. You need to watch it. It's about teaching in Philadelphia. It's a great show, written by a black sister that just won that Emmy. It's a great show. Everybody need to watch it. There you go.
All right, I will. I promise you, Danny. I will watch. I will watch the first episode. I'm pretty sure I could probably get it online of Abbott Elementary sometime this weekend. And I'll get back to you.
Before you go, Chris, before you go into this, what I was about to say is you need to probably try dress up your fries with some jerk salt seasoning or something, because
No,
if you keep hopping onto these fries, man, give the
nah,
fries a break.
nah. I
Come
don't.
on, man.
It would be a waste of good jerk seasoning, which you use on chicken or certain fish, because they are texturally firm enough to handle such a robust seasoning. I would not waste it on potatoes that are badly cooked. I digress, though. I thank you for trying to solve the problem that is the overrated French fry. Shout out to Wendy's. They're doing a good job with their French toast sticks, not their French fries. Um, All right, so we've got some great news, like in terms of ratings, right? It's up. What more can the W do? What more can we do to continue this upward transition? Because this is a transition into a younger fandom, right? Like a younger age group of fans, and I think it can really take off. And one of the things that they did prior to this is they switched how they do the draft. And this is a while back, but they actually combined the previous records. So you're using 2 years worth of records, and this is supposed to, I guess, alleviate tanking. So in the last 2 years, you have the Indiana Fever, Atlanta Dream, Washington Mystics via the Los Angeles Sparks on a trade, and the Minnesota Lynx. They are the worst four teams via record. Here are their corresponding odds of winning. The Fever have a 44.2% chance of winning the number one overall pick in the upcoming WNBA draft, who Aaliyah Boston is the prohibitive favorite. The Atlanta Dream have 27.6, the Mystics have 17.8, and the Lynx have 10.4. This is amazing. I need to know why the NBA hasn't adopted this metric in terms of figuring out the top pick and then having the rest of the teams fall to the lotto, because this seems to work in my mind. Now, Indiana's been pretty bad for like 5, 6 years, so
I don't wish Indiana on Aaliyah Boston at all. That's a shame.
well,
I want her to go to Minnesota. If she can just go to Minnesota and be with Cheryl, I'll be happy.
just everybody just dump on India. I can't even fit. All right, let's go. We're already here. We're ready for it. Um, Dang. Well, what does Indiana got to do? As we're deviating now, like well, I need to know because I was leaning towards picking the Fever.
I mean, I think the Fever is going to get the number one pick. What I am saying is, I just don't. I just have no confidence in that organization. Like, are they going to waste her? Such a great talent. Like, I think they were trying to, like maybe build, like and grow from the rookies and build from there. Maybe I don't know what their strategy is. I don't know what their outlook is. But Leah will be there, and they do have Nelissa Smith there. They got some pieces, but they need a better coach. They need a better coach at least, and they do have some. They do have something on the ground that they can work with, but
Well, they're
they
gonna
shouldn't. They shouldn't have lost as many games. I mean, them
they're,
losing. I mean,
they're
maybe this was the This was the plan to get the number one pick, but we'll see. Yeah. I don't
well
know.
they're gonna get a new coach, right? They seem to have already accounted for the good chance of acquiring Aaliyah Boston with the number one pick, and I truly think that's why they drafted Destiny Henderson, right? And I think they will try to get a coach in line with hopefully second year developing talent around who the number two pick was, as well as Leah Boston, Destiny Henderson. I,
Don't
I,
be sorry, Chris. Don't be surprised if Sue Bird don't go coach them.
oh come on. All right, well, I tell you what, I'll put that.
Nah, that's not. No, no.
We got a new voice up on stage at Kim Game. KEM Game is the handle. Over is the name up there. How you doing? Welcome, and what are your thoughts? Not the way you
Sorry.
want to. Oh, there we go. You were about to get the horn.
Yeah, I think I accidentally hit the request line. I wasn't trying to actually request.
Okay. All right. Nope.
Sorry, I'm in the office. But I can make a few comments. Yeah, personally, I'm South Carolina fan, obviously. Aaliyah Boston definitely deserves a better place than Indiana. I just think that organization isn't serious right now. I mean, they put up a lot of rookies last. Sorry, they had a lot of rookies. Uh, they had a lot of rookies last year, which I understand. They kind of push some of their veterans to the side and just kind of leave them out to dry with waning minutes. And instead of having like a balanced group, they kind of got rid of a lot of the post players and favored for more guards. So I don't know.
All right, cool.
I,
Appreciate it. Get
yeah,
back to work. Trouble.
yeah.
We got Jay the Wakandan tech support. He came up here to give his thoughts on the WNBA finals. And I'm another shock because like I'm leaning towards choosing the Indiana Fever because I reside here in south of Indianapolis. But now you guys are getting me worried. Jay, what's up, man? Your thoughts from last night's game and Aaliyah Boston to Indiana?
Good morning, everybody. Nice to be in Hoop Spaces again. The game was amazing last night. I tweeted Chelsea Gray was who Paul Pierce thinks he is in his own mind, and that seemed to get the crowd going. When the Connecticut Sun can't bully the paint, their lack of outside shooting is biting them, and the Aces are just such a well-oiled machine that they can kind of give it to you however you want it, and that's what you kind of saw in game two. That once the Aces kind of got, for lack of a better term, hit in the mouth in game one, Kelsey Plum decided to not settle for outside jumpers and go inside, and Asia Wilson and Chelsea Gray played like Asia Wilson and Chelsea Gray, and with the lack of shooting on the Sun is just really really biting them. Um, and so that's what I think about the game. I think Aaliyah Boston needs to go to Indiana because, yeah, the organization has been, for lack of a better term, trusting the process. You need that kind of talent in those kind of organizations because there's so few teams in the league that Aaliyah Boston's talent could be the tide that lifts that particular boat. And the more talent we have spread out in the W, the better.
All right, so real quick, here's a question. Let's say Aaliyah Boston does go to the Fever. Like that would give them a team led by Kelsey Mitchell being, the vet. But you would have Emily Enksler, Queen Egbo, Aaliyah Boston, Destiny Henderson, Tiffany Mitchell, Melissa Smith, and Rania Davis. I think all left on their roster. That's a decent young roster that you'd want to build, right?
It is a decent young roster. They just look, yeah, it is a decent young roster. They'll have a new coach. Um, yeah, they can build from there, and then you have some percolating in Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, I see it.
Yeah.
They were so awful the last few years, and just couldn't get out of their own way. One of my favorites all time, Tamika Catchings, is no longer there, so maybe they'll, you know, maybe the future's bright. I have to see it on the court,
Yeah,
but they do have some
What,
pieces. They
it,
do have some
and
pieces.
last year's second, fourth, and 10th pick. This year's first overall, and then Kelsey was the second pick in 2018, and then you would have Destiny Henderson as like the lone second rounder. But I think there was a lot of people who thought she was a first round talent. So I think that's a great core to try to build for a good competitive team with championship aspirations in 3 or 4 years, right? At least that's how I
I,
see it. They hop in.
I think so too, but I think an even better scenario is for the league would be Stewie going to New York and Natasha Howard going to Indiana, and you pair her with Aaliyah Boston. Um, I
I
think
mean,
that,
if Stewie is playing next, I mean, next prioritization, we'll have to see.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is the best case scenario for the league. I'm not saying this is the most probable outcome. Um, if you could get Stewie to New York in a big market, no offense to Seattle, and then Natasha Howard go to Indiana to pair Aaliyah Boston, I think that's a win-win for the W, and then the Storm can kind of rebuild from the Sue Bird Stewie era. Um,
You know, it would be another win, and this is where like conspiracy theories can hop in here. The Atlanta Dream Leap the Fever to get the number one pick, and then they combine Ryan Howard and Aaliyah Boston. And Aaliyah Boston goes on to win the Rookie of the Year, so then they would have back-to-back Rookie of the Years.
Oh, that would be flames. That would be flames.
It
I'm for that as well.
now, if you can get Dallas in the mix with some trading, and we can get Ty Harris to Indiana, so that she's not being used properly down there in Dallas, that'll be even better. And then you could send my homegirl, well, she a free agent. She'll come. She's coming to Vegas anyway. My other great girl.
Alicia Gray is my favorite
Why?
player that hasn't been to an
Why the
All-Star.
Aces fans
Alicia Gray.
turning into Lakers fans? Like they just want everybody.
You got to raise the stakes. You got to raise the stakes. You got to bet on black. You got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do.
Y'all gonna be.
Y'all better leave my Ty Harris right where she's at. Don't play with that one. No.
All right, we're gonna transition. We're gonna still talk about the W, but also transition some NBA talk in here because unfortunately for us, we hit the turn of the hour. I want to thank everybody who's joined us. Happy Wednesday. Anytime you spend with us, we're appreciative. We are sponsored by Slam Goods, and that is an online marketplace of Slam. If you remember the Slam magazine, well, they have Slam online, and they also have slamgoods.com. And if you buy stuff online like I do, you can use this promo code, Hoop Spaces. That's right, at slamgoods.com, and you'll get 15% off your entire order, site-wide. That's pretty cool. First step, too, right? Like, I'm not getting anything off. This is step one. So, like, if you do happen to shop online and you want to buy a jersey, hey, buy it through them and use the code so that, one, you save money, and then two, maybe later I get more than just a promo code. Like that's my own selfish shout out. We're also powered by audiolabs.io. They actually repurpose this live space here into YouTube content and will be also transitioning it into a pod form. So if you happen to miss any Hoop Space and you want to catch up, you can find it now here on the timeline on Twitter at our Hoop Spaces YouTube channel. And also soon where you can find all your podcast potting. Up next in the next hour, we're going to be talking about Phoenix Suns owner, Phoenix Mercury owner, Robert Sarver, suspended 1 year and fined $10 million after investigation finds conduct clearly violated workplace standards. We'll definitely dive into that because the last time I checked, if there were some violations of workplace standards, that would be a terminable offense, and yet he's still going to be here. Before we do transition fully, though, I wanted to make sure that everybody gets a chance. And because Jess rose her hand before we did the transition, I want to make sure she can come in and say her piece on the game last night. Jess, good morning. How you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm good. First and foremost, Chris, shout out to you. You better do that promo. You better do that Slam's Good promo and be doing big things going next. Shout out to you, black man. No, I really just wanted to pop up because we're turning the hour and I want to get into the Robert Sarver conversation. That sad, disgusting conversation. But you know what? Like, I just want to say in general, like, I love what the W is doing. I've been admittedly watching from afar and I want to get into it a bit more, but yeah, like it looks like it's gonna be a sweep. The game was awesome. Seeing these women, seeing Becky, first and foremost, the NBA fumbled the bag, fumbled the big bag. Like she could have brought the Spurs into another round of a dynasty with Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, and probably Wembanyama, who they're going to draft, I'm certain, as a tank. But yeah, it's awesome to see her do great things, to see those women do great things. But yeah, I wanted to jump into the that 11 a.m. conversation about what's happening with the Suns and the Mercury when we get there.
All right. Well, we are here, ladies and gentlemen, and that means we get to have a conversation that honestly isn't. This isn't a difficult conversation. The NBA has found that Robert Sarver has done something wrong. What it is that he's done wrong, I've yet to discern from the report that was released. Shout out 30 and Dubs. If you want a copy of it, he has it on his timeline. Robert Sarver, owner of the NBA's Phoenix Suns and the WNBA Phoenix Mercury, has been suspended for 1 year and fined $10 million as a result of an investigation, an independent investigation, into the Suns franchise. Now, remind you, this is also the investigation that had Sarver's wife basically call and blackmail and threaten people, right? Like unrelated to the NBA investigation. That is completely something different. But it happened while this investigation was going on, and right now, like the criminal investigation has been put on hold. There were also instances of inequitable conduct toward female employees. The NBA said in his statement, including sex-related comments and inappropriate comments on employee appearances. This is the second part because I didn't even bring in the first part, which everybody knows, and we'll lead off on that. The NBA commissioned an investigation after a published story in ESPN, and then it was followed up by like CBS and Sports Illustrated, detailing allegations of both racism and misogyny during Sarver's reign as owner. And I think, by the way, what they're making out to be the biggest offense isn't the biggest offense. I led with what I think the biggest offense is. They opened saying that he used the N word at least 5 times. And I already have an issue with that statement when recounting the statements of others. Like, if you used it at least 5 times, that is an admittance of using it more than 5 times, right? That is a tactile way to phrase something to set an arbitrary number so that you use that arbitrary number as a base point, right? It's essentially the same thing as a red herring in an argument. Like, it means absolutely nothing, right? All that matters is that he said it multiple times. When you put that arbitrary number, you're either going to get people to say, oh, well, it was only 5 times. Maybe he's just that way because of whatever. That creates a non sequitur. We don't want that. So, when you read it, just understand he said it. And he said it multiple times, which means he was comfortable enough in saying it multiple times. And if he's comfortable enough in saying it multiple times, then you have to assume that he's comfortable in saying it comfortably numerous times, which is way different than saying it out of context or misquoting or misappropriating. All right. To me, the most important aspect is the instances of inequitable conduct toward female employees. I believe that is separate from the discrimination and sexual catcalling, which is the sex-related comments and the inappropriate comments. The Dallas Mavericks just went through something similar a few years ago, okay? And if we look at what the punishment was for what Dallas went through, right, it is nothing close to what Robert Sarver just received from the NBA. And if you go back further, we all remember Donald Sterling, like he was forced to sell because there was tape, even though there had been decades of allegations as well as criminal actions against him in court and civil actions in court of being a slumlord. All right, that's just the basis. That's where we will start this conversation off. We will go ahead and go to Jess first because she came up specifically first. We'll then go to Jose. We've got Malika Walker, Danny D, Jade the Wakandan, and James up here as well. We have room for more, so if you want to come up and speak, raise your hand to come up on stage. If you have something to say you want to add on, there's a chat box down below. Go ahead and get your thoughts in there, and we'll try to add that into the conversation. And before we get the panel started, I want to go ahead and give some shout outs down below. Big shout out to Kent, Warren, Rolo, Charlie, Coco, Train. It's good to see you, Train. Santa Rosa, Zach. Appreciate you all coming in here whenever you can and that you're on, especially you, Warren. I just want to say for everybody who's met me day one from Clubhouse and came over, mad appreciation, man. I really do appreciate the support. All right, there. Jess, you're up first, Jose second, and then the other 3 will get in, whoever gets in first. The ball's in your court. Go ahead, Jess. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, man. Look, like you were saying, I totally agree. It's disheartening. Another day, another slumlord. And I do find the accusations of racism to be, absolutely ridiculous. But the fact that this man owns a WNBA team and has been found, sexual misconduct, however they want to put it in that language, is absolutely, it's absolutely wild. And my hope is that, like, he does essentially get pressured into selling his ownership of both these teams. This is a WNBA issue as much as it is an NBA issue, and I think the concern is that it's going to take Chris Paul and Devin Booker to say something for us to actually see, what should be seen, for us to actually see punishments that hit his bottom line, that hit his ability to own teams. Like, I think it's going to be a very interesting story that plays out, especially as the NBA season begins, because I cannot see a world where Chris Paul specifically doesn't speak up, doesn't say something, doesn't stand beside the Mercury team, beside the women on that team. I think we owe Diggins an apology. We owe Skylar an apology for sure. Like, there's clearly a lot going on that squad that she wasn't with, that she wasn't feeling. But yeah, I think ultimately I'm disgusted, I'm disappointed, and even more so, I think the way this is going to play out is that it is going to take the men. It's going to take D Book. It's going to take CP3 to say something for us to actually see what we should be seeing. Because 1 year and 10 million doesn't feel like it's anywhere near enough.
Yeah, I kind of agree. 1 year and 10 million doesn't really seem like a punishment for somebody who's making more than 10 million as a team owner. And 1 year away from team activities and hands-on activities, like
But anyways,
we've seen people, handle their business through intermediaries. So, yeah, it's complicated. We're gonna get some more thoughts out here. Jose, you're up next. What you got?
Good morning, everybody. Appreciate you, Chris, for bringing me up. So I was gonna initially talk about Eurobasket, but I want to remain on topic here. And with Robert Sarver, what we keep seeing is that these owners, if they weren't there, if they're not Donald Sterling and they're not recorded in act, it seems like they get a slap on the wrist, whether it's the NBA, the NFL, because Daniel Snyder and Robert Kraft have their own little shit in the NFL, and then in the NBA with Mark Cuban and now Solver here, it's just like if you have the equity and you have the means, you're gonna get a slap on the wrist, and you're gonna be able to continue to do business. And like Jess just said, I hope that this pushes him to sell because again, he is in charge of a women's NBA team as well, and if he's missed conducting himself and presenting himself as a racist, misogynistic asshole, then he shouldn't be in charge. Like, plain and simple. And it seems like the NBA fined him for 2 million for each arbitrated N word that he said, and then suspended him for a year. I just feel like this is a fumbling on the NBA's portion and their aspect of business. I mean, Sarver is going to be able to come in 1 year later and be able to basically get the bump from the CBA from those national TV deals, and you're going to be able to profit once again. So I definitely hope that this is something that he is forced to do, that he get him up out of here. But that's all I had to say on the Robert Salver situation, Chris.
All right, I'll get your Eurobasket in towards the end. Don't worry, because it was a fantastic game between Germany and Greece, where Giannis was ejected and Greece is now out the tourney. All right, up next we got Malika. Malika, your thoughts? The poll is up, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very simple poll. Robert Sarver punishment: too lenient, just right, too harsh. I specifically chose those three wordings because you can't really give it a good, a bad, or an indifferent, right? You really kind of have to put people, unfortunately, in this type of conversation in a clear box, right? Like, what do you think? It's either too lenient, just right, or too harsh. Just think of porridge. Malika Walker, go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks for resetting the conversation to just be about Sarver. I mean, yeah, Eurobasket's going on, but yeah, separate conversation. I just I was extremely disgusted by this by the judgment in this case, by the punishment. Like I did a deep dive a few times into the Sterling allegations, and I, like not allegations, what happened in that case. And I do know that there is actual audio of Donald Sterling, and that's the difference. Like we don't have live audio here, but it's gross that he only got 1 year suspension and fined 2 million, and he had the audacity to contest. He actually has an issue with his punishment. I mean, he doesn't even think he deserves that. Like this is a slap on the wrist. He still gets to keep the profits that he'll make this year. Yes, Skylar Diggins Smith and Tina Charles deserve an apology. Um, like I have no like Sky wants out of there. I believe she wants to get the hell out of there. I don't think they're going to trade her because who did like with DT going the way she's been decreasing over years, but that's another issue also. But it's gross. And then I agree with the point that Zach Lowe made. I agree with 2 points that were made on NBA Today yesterday. One, when Kendrick Perkins made a comment that why the owners would, there's no really why would owners feel conflict here with voting for um like Robert Sarver to sell the franchise versus when they did it for Sterling was, like they should be able to make this decision with the vile things that he's been accused of. Like it's been said that they would feel, even though he's not liked by the ownership group, he has no friends on the ownership group, that they, this can eventually affect them in some way in the future, especially Mark Cuban, because with the Mavericks, what it came out about the Mavericks is about self-preservation. But I'm disgusted. And to me, the NBA, this just, crystallizes the NBA is no different than the NFL. I'm sorry. To me, they're the same. This is gross. And to me, like they also blackballed a player if you want to go there, with Mahmoud Abdul, Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. So, like I just feel disgusted, and it was like we all, NBA was always held to be the standard of, like of all the leagues, they're the one who is more responsible. Outside of to me, it's the WNBA because the players to speak up and force change if necessary, but with the NBA, no, you're just the same. And I think that with Chris Paul, and I agree with Zach Lowe when he said this should fall on the players, but it is. And I am waiting to hear from Chris Paul. I am waiting to hear from Devin Booker. I don't know if we're going to hear from Devin Booker, but Chris Paul, this is the second time under a racist owner where the racism has been exposed. I'm expecting to hear something from him. Like he's been silent, maybe trying to get his thoughts together and trying to figure out what to do. But we need to hear. I need to hear from Chris Paul. Even I don't care how unfair it is. I need to hear from Chris Paul, and he owns the WNBA team. Like the fact that that can't even be contested is just gross. Like I can't say gross enough. And he'll be back in a year. People don't think he's coming back. Some people think the team's going to be sold. I don't. I think out of spite, he's going to come back and be in the arena, and I'm just disgusted.
All right, let me ask it. Let me ask you this, so that I can also put this out there. So when I first heard it, and then I read part of it. I didn't read all of it. I think I read. Oh, well, it's the most in history. It's also the most that they can give in terms of the fine. To me, that is also another reason why it gives this the optics it does, because it's the max. But then if you're able to be suspended for a year and then receive the largest in history, that's also the max. To me, you've already shown enough to forfeit the right to own a team in a private, if I was an owner, um, company, right? Like that's how I view it if I was an owner. Outside, I wish I was in that room. I don't know what's said in that room. I can understand, however, by the bylaws written up and signed to by each individual owner or governor of the team, like it's written this way to protect each individual owner's rights, just as if you were going to be under investigation at your job. Now, I'm not trying to make this sound any way. I'm just trying to say, how does, if you know they're going through the process that's established by what they all agree to, which is essentially their laws of ownership, does that change your perception of it? Or do you think it's just more of a cop out where they're saying, well, we're giving him the max punishment that we can give him?
I think it's bullshit, and he should not own an NBA team or a WNBA team. I think that they should have put this to a vote, and even though we would never know who voted for who, I think it's bullshit that this man still owns a team and owns both teams. I think it's a disgrace, and I no longer see the NBA as, I see them the same as the NFL, and it's gross. Period.
All right. Jess, your hands up. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just gonna say quickly to Malika's point about where and when the other owner should be feeling any term of conflict with this situation, and even as she was just saying, like, maybe they should have put it to a vote. I actually think it could have gotten even more gross and more disgusting, right? Because the larger concern is that part of the conflict that many of the owners are probably feeling is that they've got skeletons in their own closet. And so if they see Sarver really, like, beyond getting the max, and then losing his ability to profit and being actually forced in a real way, not just like in the court of public opinion, discomfort kind of a thing, just slither away, like sell the team and disappear. If he's actually shamed, embarrassed, loses his bottom line, and has to sell the team and is made an example of, the other owners are going to say, well, shit, like, I'm sure if you go through my emails, if you had my phone tapped, I said similar, if not worse. And I think that's the thing that Adam Silver should touch, should address, but probably never will. And that to me is also what makes this very, very alarming, right? Like, I don't think this is a niche case. I don't think Sarver stands alone. And that is the thing that really needs to be investigated.
All right.
I
So,
agree, Jess. Sorry, Chris. I agree, Jess. I agree, Jess, 100%.
so the question then is, how would the league be able to do that legally, right? Because the league as entity are bound by the rules and laws that are voted on by each ownership group, right?
Well, so,
Like, but let me finish. So that being said, all I'm saying is essentially Adams. It would be as if Adam Silver was the principal of a school, but the attendees of the school got to choose the max punishment. So regardless of the crime, Adam Silver, as the principal of the school, hands are already tied with the inability to do what he may have thought would have been the actual correct decision. And you could there ergo say, so would some owners, because they would still be held to the same bylaws, which means they wouldn't be able to go out independently to the media and say, I completely disagree and thought it should have been more, because that puts them at risk because they agreed to the terms of ownership.
yeah, just like with the principal analogy you put out there, well, the kids will just walk out of the school. Then you get the parents involved. But same thing with the NBA. The just no one go to watch their game. Hit his bottom line the way it should be. Just no one go to their game. Some and then not only that, the NBA association should be up up and up in arms about the situation. They should be out there beating the drum about it, you know, because not only that it affects the NBA, it affects the WNBA. So the NBA players should should be out there protecting the WNBA as if they those ladies were their sisters, their auntie, their cousins. So they should be out there. I mean, they should be on TV every minute of the day. That's my 2 cents on that.
Yep, nope, I totally agree. And Chris, I'll just jump in here quickly. I love that analogy. And what I think is funny is, like, sure, if we're looking at the principal in the school situation and the discourse around the severity of the punishment for what we're talking about, if the majority of the students in that school were Black, something has to give, right? The NBA and the WNBA is like 80% Black men and women. And this is starting to become a regular occurrence of racism, sexism, misogyny, all types of all the isms. And I think, like Malika was saying, like we do need to hear from more of these players, right? Like, where is Kyrie with his "I want to be a voice for the voiceless"? Where's Cuckoo Kyrie now, right? Like we need him to go on IG Live. We need him to start talking the talk. Like, I do think Chris Paul, as the president, I think of the Players Association, like he's got some. I want to hear something from him as well, and from some of the larger stars in the league, because to me, I think, yeah, this has to be addressed. Like, it's 2022. Like, at some point in time, the structures that look like Jim Crow, the structures that look like modern day slavery, to me, in and outside of athletics, need to be addressed.
30 and Dubs, just 30, has joined the stage. You actually have the entire, or what has been released, investigation document on your timeline. You've read over through some of it. You've seen all the stuff on TV. You've heard all the stuff on TV. What are your thoughts?
One of the big things that stood out to me, as used to being an HR professional, the HR department was like non-existent. So all the interviews were, I hate to use the word hearsay. They had no documentations of any reports or payouts, abuse, or complaints. So the HR is the gateway to any company, and since you had I want to immoral CEO, the HR department kind of reflect the owner's behavior. So I don't agree with the findings of the NBA, but he's not going to be forced to sell his team. They already handed out their punishment.
All right, so I do want to say the NBA, they are not the ones who investigated. It was Watchell Lipton. It's a law firm. It's a very expensive law firm in New York. So it was a third party investigatory process. Just throwing that out there. Once it reached a certain level, they kicked it out independent. A lot of organizations, not just the NBA, do this, whether they are government or private sector, right? They want to have the appearance of objectivity. So Watchell Lipton is the law firm that did the investigation. So those are their findings, not just the league findings. The league just endorsed those findings since they paid them a lot of money to do it. That's all. Just have to throw that out there as a disclaimer. Everything else you said was perfect, and I just wanted to make sure that that's out there. So that's why I gave the analogy of the principal. Like Adam Silver can only do what his powers allow him to do, and the people who grant him his powers are the people who also put in the punitive damages amount. And there you go. Jay the Wakandan, you've been quiet. What are your thoughts? And then Danny, come on after him. If you're down below and you want to come on up and give us your thoughts, go ahead, raise your hand. If you don't, because you can't, but you still want to participate, there's a chat box in the bottom right. Go ahead and throw your thoughts in there. I want to give a shout out to Edwin Garcia. You can find him at eCreates88, covering the Lakers this year. Shaco Valdez is in the building. JFK, Verl, Nico, Eddie, Steve, Mackenzie, Tay, and the pickup card game is here. And just like that, I can give my second read of the morning, ladies and gentlemen, and you can go over to slamgoods.com and pick up your copy of the pickup card game and use the promo code HoopSpaces to get yourself a first edition copy of the pickup card game, saving you 15%. And I'll give you a point if you can tell me what 15% of $25 is, because that's how much it costs over at slamgoods.com. All right, there you go. There's the read. Go pick it up. Use Hoop Spaces, save 15%. Jay the Wakandan, Danny D, you're up next.
15% is $375.
Look at you.
Hey man, listen, man. When you're an engineering major, you got to be able to do that. So you have time to deal with the real problems. Um, whatever button the NBA pushed to get Sterling out the league, it's quite obvious that the owners had a grudge against Sterling, and they had been wanting a way to get him out of their good old boys club for like decades. Um, and they don't have those same issues with Sarver. Sarver's not cheap. Sarver um, spends money in the league. You know, the Joe Johnson saga aside. Um, and like Mark Cuban said, when they ousted Sterling, they don't want to set this precedent that being racist and misogynistic is a way to get out of NBA ownership. Um, and so it is going to fall to the players. Um, and I don't know how much the players can do, like, because yes, Chris Paul has a moral obligation, but how far? So does Chris Paul go to his teammates and say, "Hey, we're not gonna play"? Because now you got contracts. Now you know what I'm saying? Like, there's how big of a mess does the does the player union want to make of this with a CBA contract in the works? Like it's not just the Sarver incident in a vacuum. It is the timing of it in the real world consequences and timelines of things going on. And it's easy for us to say, well, I don't care about any of that. But like, yeah, DeAndre Ayton is going to be fine. Chris Paul is going to be fine. Devin Booker is going to be fine. But the first round pick, the second round pick, the guy on the G League roster, or I'm sorry, with the two-way contract, are the player union is the player union going to take care of that guy for 5 years, 6 years if he gets blackballed among NBAs? Because and so there's just a lot of things to consider. In a vacuum, yeah, I would love for the players to say we're not going to play a game as long as he's here. But with a new CBA, um, negotiation in the works, I can't see that. I think everybody is going to, quote unquote, in corporate speak, table this and come back to it after negotiations, and we'll see what happens from there.
If you want some corporate speak, I've got corporate speak for you. I'll get to it after Danny D comes in and gives her opening thoughts here, and then I'll get you some corporate speak, because that's right. The Suns' legacy partners issued a statement, and it was a statement to read, and I'm going to read it. Danny, you have anything you want to add in here?
Oh yeah. If you called me earlier, I was feeding the dogs. I got cussed out by a dog. Told me they were ready to eat. Um, okay, this is my thought. I know everybody upset that he didn't get his team taken away. Blah blah blah. I look at it this way, and it's even not even a feeling. Okay, you force him to sell his team. Guess what? That other person doesn't have to buy the Mercury. They can just buy the Suns. And then the Mercury, they have to find a buyer for them. Now you're back in limbo. Um, it's more of a punishment than Dan Snyder got from the NFL, which he still hasn't got a punishment for.
Gonna
or
say, I,
Robert Kraft. Like,
Robert Kraft, who got caught in a massage parlor down there in Florida, getting him what do you call it, a happy ending.
for $20, a
For 20.
billionaire
oh,
is getting
stop
for
it,
$20.
I'm
stop it.
just saying, look, this man wears Air Force Ones. Hey, at the end of the day, we can sit here and say, well, Chris Paul and them got to do something. No, they don't. Because they ain't got no leg to stand on right now with KD trying to request a damn trade and Ben Simmons and Harden with trade. We are in a contract CBA time coming up. Not everybody's paycheck is the same in the NBA. I always liken it to this. I worked at Verizon for several years. I understood that there's the CEO, CFO, XYZ, whoever else came underneath there, and then it came down to the workers. It is what it is at the end of the day. They wanted Donald Sterling out because he wasn't doing shit. Excuse my French. He wasn't doing anything. They wanted him out. It even made it easier because it was caught on tape. Now, if Sarver was caught on tape saying stuff, then or even a video, they probably would have told him, "Yeah, you got to go." They might get him out between now and the end of the season. You never know, but it is what it is. It, I don't know if that helps you, Chris, but that's
Well, no, it's what your thoughts are. It doesn't help nor hurt me. I kind of see this in an omnidirectional sense, right? Everybody on the NBA side is going to get lambasted, because of the optics of it. And the issue is some of the people within the NBA who are about to get, roasted. They have zero to do with it, or their ability to do anything is limited by constraints that are greater than their power, right? Like even Chris Paul, who's not the president of the Players Association any longer, CJ McCollum, but people, for the people who are asking, it's because he's a senior voice of the players and he's the senior voice of the Phoenix Suns. They have a moral obligation to themselves and their personal beliefs and opinions first, and then if they decide to do something, that's on them, and everybody should support or not support based upon what they say they're going to do. And I say that because the Sun Legacy Partners put out a statement that is really really good corporate speak. That's the best way to say it. Quote, Sun's Legacy Partners is committed to creating a safe, respectful, and inclusive work environment that is free of discrimination and harassment. As the NBA acknowledged, we fully cooperated with the NBA's investigation, which covered an 18-year period, including by encouraging current and former employees to participate. The NBA's findings concerning the organization focus, for the most part, on historical matters that have been addressed in recent years, including through meaningful enhancements to our workplace compliance program. I am not lying to you. That is a complete sentence that they separated from the first paragraph and the second paragraph. I'm going to read that one more time because it's a phenomenally worded corporate paragraph. The NBA's findings concerning the organization focus for the most part on historical matters that have been addressed in recent years, including through meaningful enhancements to our workplace compliance program. I am still trying to figure that out.
Oh, I can tell you what that means.
Somebody,
That means that we already spanked ourselves for this, and for like to go back to your school kid analogy.
yeah,
That's the kid telling the principal, no, I've already put myself in detention like 2 years ago, so we don't have to like revisit this.
yeah, it's so bad. At the direction of senior leadership, we have strengthened our culture and focused on creating a workplace where everyone feels included and valued. These efforts include hiring new HR leadership, updating our employee handbook to clearly define our expectations for appropriate workplace behavior, adopting a strong code of conduct, instituting robust processes to report misconduct, and holding trainings on respect in the workplace and our corresponding policies and procedures. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't even finish this
Let
state.
me stop you there, Chris. The line about HR. I'm like, HR works for you. They're there to work for you. They're not there for the employees. They've never been there for employees at any company. They're there to make sure that you don't get sued for anything crazy. So that line about HR is just okay.
The way I looked at it is, so you hired a new HR leadership, so you're going to change how your memos are worded, and your job postings are going to go through a different site. Like I don't know, man.
And
James,
God, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, my thing on this is that they need someone to go file a complaint, actual complaint. If what I read is true, that he called players into the office and asked them, do they shave? Someone they could file a complaint and subpoena the HR records. What they hiding? If they're hiding any of them, and see if there's more complaining to HR. And hold that's one way of getting them out of there is they have to have someone go and file a complaint. A few of them file a joint complaint.
They did an 18-year review. I am fairly certain that they hit that. Like that's the thing is the way that they come out saying they did this investigation, and they'll report the findings. They've got the punishment. Like starting now, there's no revisionism. It's done. It's over. This is it, unless something else happens due to player action or fan action, right? But as of now, of 11:39 Eastern Standard Time, it's over. It's done. Jada Wakanda than 30.
And I was gonna say, because God knows the person who can bring an organization to heel is the new employee, because that's how it works. Like, what are we doing here?
The new employee. I love that. I actually my son is in swimming, and I had this conversation with another parent. They're having a workplace problem, and the problem for them is they are an IT third party contractor, so they have zero say in organizational structure or flow. And he's like, I just go in and I get a task list of what I need to do, and I make sure I get that task list done. And like he literally emails everybody every day at the end of the workday to make sure everybody knows what he did so he can cover himself. That's what this sounds like. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, the NBA said, hey, no, we started an investigation. We had complaints. We saw that this was going to be something bigger. We got a third party, well respected outside law firm. They did a thorough 18-year review, essentially. This is their findings. This is what we're allowed to do by their actions. So, for the NBA league office standpoint, it's pretty clear cut. My question now, and we'll get 30's thoughts in here as well, is if the onus is up to the players or the fans, how do you do this, without alienating the Phoenix Suns fan base? Because like they're still going to want to root for their team, and like now I feel as though they're going to be people who are going to be like using them as some type of sounding board for their own personal frustrations. 30. While the other people are thinking about that question, what are your thoughts so far on the topic and conversation?
Yeah, if you look at the report that came out from the law firm, you think about it, they got rid of the HR had no evidence of any of this stuff coming up. So they basically, if we get rid of all the paperwork when it is an investigation, they're not going to find anything. So that's what happened. So they revamped the HR department now. But you look when they hired, I mean, when they interview current employees, they had nothing mean to say about the organization. They enjoy the workplace. So, like you said earlier, the investigation is over. They hand out the NBA hand out their punishment, and basically got to move forward.
It's gross.
All right.
It's, it's sorry, Chris. It should be a criminal investigation. Is what I'm saying. Someone need to go file a criminal complaint and force them to produce the complaining from the HR that they hid or destroyed. And once someone do that, then people who former workers from HR department will come on and say, yeah, we, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you'll have more people coming out the woodworks saying what they see or what they heard. And then my thing is, if you have white and black employees telling you what you're saying is wrong, you shouldn't be saying it. Man, I don't know what else more you need.
Eh, I look, the problem that I have come across in life is that there are arbitrary tiers in organizational value, right? Um, this is a proponent of our economic system. This is the us versus them, the 1%, et cetera, et cetera. And they truly do live in a different world, right? We understand this. We live in a very more cursory, tactile existence, and they don't. This is a period of time, though, that you would want humanism to kind of take over, where it's like, hey, to better serve the greater good, maybe we should go ahead and start like really giving ourselves an independent third party review so we can see where any of these future problems are going to lie. And then maybe we should start as an organization or as an entity to start shoring up that, because let's be honest, this isn't going to be the last time, right? Because when it was the Dallas Mavericks scandal, like, did anybody think this wasn't going to happen again? Like when Donald Sterling, when the tape was played, did anybody else not say, "Oh, there's got to be more than one"? Because in life, there tends to always be, if there is one, there's another. If there's two, there's three, and if there's three, there may be four. Or is that just a little bit too cynical of a thinking mindset? That's the question posed to y'all. The poll is going the way I thought. Dominating, too lenient. Um, Somebody brave said too harsh. I think I understand from their point of view. I think it goes from the idea that he got the harshest penalty period that was available. Jay the Wakandan, thoughts?
Hey, um, the other thing, well, I mean, I like the criminal investigation thing. Um, I'm just highly cynical about it because it's going to get politicized. Arizona's a red state. And I'll give you an example. The prosecutor who blew up this Brett Favre thing got fired in Mississippi, right? Like, that's how, like what Chris was saying, like, that's kind of how power moves and operates. And so the thing about owning an NBA team for a lot of these rich white men, predominantly, is this is supposed to be fun, right? And that's part of why they, like, kind of, for lack of a better term, poo-pooed what Sarver did as, oh, it's just kind of like frat boy humor, right? Like, and that's the thing, like, for the woman who was pregnant, for the woman who was um, minding her own business, you know, and Sarver makes these comments. These are their livelihoods. This is how they feed their family. This is how they pay their mortgage. This is how they, buy food. And but for the Sarvers of the world, this is their playground. This is not their place of business, quote unquote. This is their playground. This is supposed to be fun. And for a lot of rich white men, being misogynistic, being racist, is fun. It's literally the tradition of this country. And I do want it to change. I do think it should change. I do think that the players, as a business partner of the NBA, have an obligation to do what they can to try to change it. But I do think that as intelligent human beings should understand that just like black people can't fix the white supremacy mechanisms in place, the players can't fix the owners. Like, that's just not how this works. Um, and that's all I got to say, man.
All right. I you hit a poignant point. Players can't fix the owners because the owners own and the players play. The players can only try to fight as a group for the best employment conditions that they can have. Can they perhaps use it as leverage in negotiations to create a more stringent ownership punishment policy? That's actually an interesting thought.
Or an
Um,
NBA employee union. Like, that's what would be really interesting. Like, if the players union made a NBA employee union to protect, like, the trainers, because there's a coaches union as well. And so, if the
Well,
coaches union,
they,
go ahead.
they,
I'm sorry.
the issue with that is each state has. Yeah, you're not the first person to want that. The issue is that they're independent businesses in a co-op structure of an organization, and each independent business has their own independent business laws within their state.
Oh
So
yeah.
to create a union would then arbitrarily force the Simon family to raise their minimum wage, and I'm not saying yay or nay here in Indiana to make it what it would be matching the Clippers or the Lakers, because they would immediately have to go to a standard of living which is like 2.7 times higher than Indiana, right? And then at that point, you have a cascading effect, right? That's the argument against it. So I'm neither saying yay or nay. I'm just pointing out that it would have to be each individual uh, employee section. So the trainers would have to unionize as trainers. The food service workers would have to do it as food service workers. The ticket sales would have to do it as entertainment or ticket sales. They couldn't just come together and do it. They'd have to individualize and do it individually. Then it could happen. Malika, your hands up. Go ahead.
Yeah, in my comments, I stand by what I said. I hear you. I heard your comments, Danny. Nah, with Chris Paul, he's also received the advocates. Nikki reminded me of this about this award, which was a farce when it was given, but whatever. The WNBA Advocacy Award. Chris Paul was awarded that last year for being just a stalwart for the WNBA. With the Phoenix Mercury, when you have the sexism and racism allegations, like people keep talking about NBA. A WNBA team is also impacted. So when I put up my tweet, I didn't just say Chris Paul and Devin Booker. I said Skylar Diggins-Smith as well as Diana Taurasi, because you had women in the organization who also impacted. And as a WNBA team, and with him being a WNBA advocacy award winner and being such a quote unquote supporter of the WNBA, how quickly he spoke up with Sterling and how quickly he acted and everything there. I'm assuming he's being smart about how he wants to respond and really, getting with his team and figuring out how to respond and what to say and all of that. But yeah, I disagree. We need to hear from Chris Paul, even from a WNBA advocacy perspective. I, like, no, you responded and you were active with Sterling. I need to hear you.
And
I
that,
need to hear you. It's
yeah,
as simple as that.
this kind of makes the entire Mercury situation even that much worse on the eyes, for me, viewing on the Mercury. So like you can't really necessarily get away with saying Tina Charles quit on the team, right? You can't necessarily get away with
Nope.
Skylar Diggins Smith had an issue with teammates, because it's pretty damn apparent now that their issue might have involved teammates, but their issue was with the team. So like that is also a conversation that we are going to have to, that we will end up having, or at least more in the W world will have as it gets unpacked. Because I think if we are to see Sarver removed, it would be via a mechanism through the WNBA. I think more than the NBA. If there
Yeah.
is of ill report to report of Tina Charles and Skylar Diggins Smith, which I'm sure is going to come out. James, hop in here. Your hands up. Anybody down below, if you want to come on up, now's the time to raise your hand. We got about 8 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, everybody. Good morning.
Yeah, I would like to hear from Doc Rivers since he was in the room with Sterling. And he had to navigate the team through all of this. We need to hear a voice of reason because he was in the room. He probably could give a better depth on how to handle or how the public should deal with this, because this situation is not just they try to make it more of he say she say type thing, but it's more than that. And I think because Doc Rivers had to go through this, I think him and Chris Paul, their voices are more needed right now.
All right. There are a couple people down below who's shared some thoughts in the chat box. So, like, if you want to be able to do that, go ahead, throw it in there so you can continue the conversation.
Hey, I just got to say this. Look, y'all pressing these players to say stuff, and I want y'all to be disappointed once you don't get the answers y'all want. They may not say anything, so I just want to be the Debbie Downer of the group. Just set everybody's expectations.
No,
I'm just being real.
no, it ain't
I'm just being real. I'm
No.
laughing about it because I don't want y'all to get on here and try to crucify them because they don't say anything or say anything everybody likes. Because I don't know about how can I say it? It's something different about this situation because we don't have him on tape. Yes, we have 18's worth of paper, but let's be real. People react more nowadays to when you're actually able to see it on tape, i.e., the Brett Favre mess that dropped yesterday in that news report where you got the text messages conversation. That's even more, even though he's paying supposedly restitution back to the state, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But yeah, don't be disappointed if they don't come out. Media Day is what? September 26th.
Right around the corner.
That's when you might get your answers then. But I don't know. I think I'm gonna be real. I'm just gonna say what I'm gonna say is on my little heart here. Y'all gonna be disappointed, and I hate to say it. A lot of people are gonna be disappointed. I think Chris Paul is Chris Paul, who Chris Paul is. And you can take that how you want to receive it.
That's a good way.
Chris Paul is who y'all think he is. He wants to present that whole Dallas Sterling thing. I think because he was the president at that time, he had to stand up, and he probably had a locker room that really did not want to play. Chris Paul was forced to play. Chris Paul is part of the Banana Boat crew, and you can take that how you want to take it too. He is about his dollar only. He wants to keep that State Farm money. He ain't gonna say anything. He gonna say what the NBA, the league said a punishment. It was a punishment. I'm satisfied with it, and that's what he's probably gonna say. That's just me being a Debbie Downer. I'm in a good place today. I'm just being a Debbie Downer.
You can be a Debbie Downer. I actually think because he's no longer the president, he's more apt to push it towards C.J. McCollum. The one thing that a lot of people don't understand about Chris Paul is Chris Paul could probably move to your town and be elected mayor. He is very good at politics, y'all. Like real good. I have respect for what Chris Paul does as a union leader or representative. If I needed,
from a WNBA advocacy perspective, that's not going to work for me. Like you need to, you're supposed to be a strong advocate for the WNBA. I need to hear you. And Danny, I hear you. And that's what I fear is, like he didn't deserve that dick fucking award in the first. Sorry, Chris. He didn't deserve that award in the first place.
almost got a whole.
But
I'm rubbing off on you, Malika. Yeah.
but
I was 3 minutes away.
but I'm not having that's gross. And he needs to he needs to, for the Mercury, with him being an advocate, no, you being silent is not going to work, if you really are an advocate for the WNBA. Like,
and I agree with you, Malika. You are totally right. I just don't want to set myself up for failure. That's the route I live with.
Chris Paul single-handedly getting this show today, going from PG to R, without even knowing.
I'm sorry, Chris. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. You're passionate about it, and that's what we love. It's what we're here about. We're here to talk about and share the passion of the sport that we have, and that means being protective of it, which is what you're doing. All right, and I support it. Like I want transparency. I want I want Sarver honestly to be questioned under oath personally, like in Discovery. I'm all about Discovery. Like that to me, transparency is the light that cures all. It's like Windex on your sprained shoulder or elbow. Y'all don't know about the Windex stuff, huh? All right, guess not.
I
My
have no idea about the Windex. I
my
would love for you to get into this.
my grandmother would
Oh no.
would spray Windex on everything on your body if it hurt. So like I was on this old swing set, like the ones that were all metal, right? And it had the seesaw swing, and like I fell off, and I was like 6 or 7, and like I'm thinking I'm getting iodine like I get at home. No, no, she brings out the Windex bottle and then sprays the scab and the scrape with Windex. And like from then on, like I noticed that she did it like anytime she'd cut herself in the kitchen, sprays it with Windex. My other cousins sprayed it with Windex. I asked my aunts, my dad, and they're like, she did it when we were a kid. So like literally 60 years of spraying Windex on, like if it was disinfectant. Y'all ain't never had that?
No, we
No.
had the Tuss. Before we had the Robitussin or the Tussin. Go get the Tussin.
Yeah, us too. She would mix tussin with castor oil. Oh, it's just nasty. Micah, you look like you do want to come on up. Your hands up. You made it in time. What you got?
Yeah, golly. How many apology letters does the Suns organization having to send out nowadays? But anyway, like my question is, like, what if free agents started giving Sarver the, I don't know, basically James Dolan treatment, and we're talking about pickled nachos again? Does that have any effect?
No, because that's pretty much been the plight of Phoenix. Most of the people they get are drafted or traded. They don't get live agent signees.
Oh, okay. Appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. Like a lot of players don't like want to live in Phoenix. Although Phoenix is a lot better than Scottsdale. Wink. Throwing that out there. Been to both. Won't be going back to one of them. Phoenix is all right. I like Phoenix. Good airport. Really good airport in Phoenix. I don't know if y'all been through the Phoenix airport. It's pretty dope. It has a central terminal, so like if your flight gets switched, it's not a hassle. Like in Los Angeles, where you have to run through like 5 concourses and 2 buildings and 3 security screenings. You know, Denver also underrated airport. Shout out Denver's airport.
Say Congress ain't doing nothing. Congress could drag them in there and do an inquiry.
You
So
you are literally naming the only other body that is like least right.
That's not happening. Come on, James.
Well, and it could if a congressional is filed, right? So going on what James's theory of a complaint, like if there was a complaint where they could inherently, prove discrimination in the workplace, that was a violation of federal statute. Oh, then absolutely, they would file a complaint in either the House, the rep office, or the Senate office to put in a request for a federal inquiry based on X, Y, and Z. Right? Like that could happen. I'm not saying it will. I don't think personally I would want to do it as somebody who's seen a congressional process. I'm cool, right? um Unfortunately, like we are in a position where as a fan, the only impact we have is with our consumption. So if you have a personal issue, like you have to figure out how you can best affect the consumption of Phoenix Suns, if it's you want to single it out that way. Like for me though, I said earlier, um this then kind of unfairly puts the Phoenix Suns fans, although they didn't necessarily, some of them purport themselves well last year. It puts them in unfair status too, because let's say you do happen to bring in a new owner, that new owner might not necessarily need to keep that team there. All right, so like there's whole different ramifications that can happen from removing an owner, and that is who's to say you get a buyer at this time, right? So if you don't get a buyer, does the league step in and manage it like they manage, the Hornets? in New Orleans?
Well, the thing is with that is that you have a lot of WNBA players or former players that want to own a team. They go overseas and own teams overseas. So what's the difference in this one?
Uh,
Because
Probably capital.
Inflation, because
Are,
it's gonna cost them more to borrow money if they
yeah.
don't have the capital.
So the standing capital to draw in enough revenue to meet the basic lines that they're going to write out to meet qualification to be an owner. Like that, and that also like that just highlights the pay inequity, right? Because if Lisa Leslie was paid, equitable to a male at her time and invested it and had the same equitable business opportunities post career, then absolutely, James, she probably could step in and buy the Phoenix Mercury. But now she would probably have to get an ownership group where she might not even be the majority owner.
well, you don't have to be the majority owner. You just want to get them out of there. You just want to make a difference, especially as a female owner. And not only that, it's like, you have someone like that. You need a disruption in the good old boys club, and I think that will work. I mean, Rodriguez had a hard time coming up with money to buy what team he own now. I forgot what team baseball team he owned,
But,
but he came up with it.
but
So I guess
he's not the majority owner.
right, but he not. But he come up with it. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to say if you
There to put it.
if it really want to come to want to happen, but I don't think the owners gonna want to do that because they wouldn't want the good old boys club disrupted.
Yeah, I understand that. I just it's a little like some of the ins and outs of the way the ownership structure would be is a little different. So you wouldn't want to be the minority owner. You would want to be the majority owner. What we need would be to get more of the ex players in majority ownership. Is really the way to solve it.
I'm hoping Grant Hill gets his, eventually becomes a majority owner. Like, yeah, but yeah, I agree, Chris.
All right. Closing thoughts as we get ready to part on this Wednesday. We'll save the Eurobasket talk for Friday after a couple of more games have been played in the quarterfinals. If you did have Germany winning by 20 over Greece on your bingo card yesterday, here's a point for you. I certainly did not, but they did, and they looked really deep and really good doing it. And the Dennis Schroeder revenge tour still lives. Watch out for Germany, dark horse. They get ready to take on Spain on Friday, and then today is Italy, and I forget. I don't know why I'm blanking all of a sudden. But man, Italy's got this one cat, Fontecchio, who's absolutely entertaining. So make sure you catch some Eurobasket tonight, and then tomorrow, 9 p.m. ESPN. You have the Connecticut Sun looking to stave off elimination. You have the Aces looking to close out and sweep. So make sure you watch that. Final thoughts. We'll go to Micah. Micah, what's your final thought of the day? Oh, so close. One day I'm gonna get a show with no horns, everybody. I promise. James, final thoughts.
Yeah, well, with the Connecticut Suns, if they don't get their act together, it'll be over, and they have to have a what's called even flow with their game, and if they don't put that together, it's gonna be lights out. They're gonna get blowout. I don't want that to happen. Like I said, I want to go to the Bahamas for the summer. I mean, for the Christmas. So they need to come on with it. And far as um, the Suns with their front court, they need to step up some more. So we'll see what happens Thursday. But good luck to them.
All right. Danny, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I would like them to win tomorrow night, but I'll take Sunday. It is what it is. People do watch the W. We saw the ratings for game one. I can imagine what they were for game two, and I'm looking forward to one way a celebration. I believe in my team, and there you go. Hope everybody has a wonderful day.
I hope you have a wonderful day too, Danny. 30, what you got?
Get your brooms ready. The Ace gonna sweep the Suns, and make sure y'all drink at least 8 glasses of water a day. And don't listen to Chris take on French fries. They're good with mumbo sauce.
No, they're not good. They're not. Like again, if they were good, wouldn't need the mumbo, would you?
I don't need a mumbo. I'll eat them nice and hot with
Yeah.
salt. Thank you.
Oh, if they were good, you wouldn't need the salt.
They are good. They're potatoes.
They
What's wrong with you?
Say
they
Chris, have you ever tried sweet potato fries?
yeah, they're just softer, equally depressing, overly rated. I
Oh man, Chris, come on now. Oh, come on. Well, I guess you got to wrap it up with a hot dog or something, and then try it that way, right?
Nah, man, we don't do the hot dogs here neither. Not like that. Do you know they did a study? You actually lose. They quantified this hours for every hot dog you eat off your life. Did y'all know that?
No way, Chris. That's you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Wow, I have a hot dog business too, so I guess I better get on that business then, huh?
Yeah, not like you know what? Here, I'll see if I can't find that study for you and put it up in the jumbotron.
Wow, man, for real, I do with a hot
What
dog.
do you know this stuff? It doesn't matter.
A re-
You probably gonna tell me drinking wine takes a day off my life, and I like to
anything,
get tipsy.
anything above 6 ounces a day actually impacts your liver function down the line. Uh, hold the hot dog. A recent study suggests eating just one could take 36 minutes off your life. The study, coming from the University of Michigan, was published September 4th, 2021, in the Journal of Nature Food, which is a peer reviewed journal.
Wow, I gotta look that one up. Wow, that's messed up. They try to hurt my business, Chris.
Hey, although I'm not gonna lie, give me a all beef, no nitrate, no preservative hot dog on a bun with some grilled onions and spicy brown mustard and hot sauce, and you'll take me back to when I was 8, and that was my favorite uh, baseball stadium meal.
There you go. There you go. Now you talking. Now we talking.
So now you can feel good. So even at 8 years old, I was taking 36 minutes off my life, but it was worth it because it was delicious. Now though, I can't do it. I'm gonna hit 40. These 36 minutes each time for me. Never mind. I digress. Malika, final thoughts.
Just real quick, the U.S. women's training camp roster is over in Australia, about to compete. They're going to be starting to compete in the tournament soon. So you'll have Aaliyah Boston's there with Ariel Askins. I'm gonna put the let me, never mind. I'll retweet the tweet of who the team is, and you guys could check the timeline. So be on the lookout for that. Brianna Stewart is there. Asia will eventually be there. So, yeah, that's coming this summer. So I'm excited for that. And check me out next Wednesday for Lakers Legacy, looking at episodes 4 through 7. And one will be coming the week after. So, definitely subscribe if you want to discuss those items. And I'm enjoying my pumpkin coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. Um, it is absolutely delicious. It is my favorite coffee from Dunkin' Donuts, pumpkin coffee. I don't know why, but it comes out. I only can have it once a week because of the sugar involved. Yes, I am suffering, but it is important that I get this coffee today. I'll be drinking water the rest of the day because of it. But that is my food item contribution. But yeah, definitely check out the women's national team competing in Australia. That should be coming up soon. So I wanted to plug that and make sure y'all watch out for it because we got the top players from the W there from the U.S. So including Benija and Sabrina own the Crown Supremacy. So check it out.
Okay, so this Dunkin' pumpkin coffee. How much sugar is in it?
So I just talked about the women's national team, and that's the one thing you're gonna pull out. A lot, Chris. A lot. I'm just
Well,
joking,
I'm gonna get to it, like, but
but
this is
a
really
lot.
what people want to know.
No, but it's a lot. But it's good. Just drink water the rest of the day. Just drink water to help cleanse. But it's worth it. It's so good.
No,
It's so good.
it's not because it doesn't taste like pumpkin. It doesn't taste like pumpkin
See,
pie. It
this
doesn't
is
taste
how
like.
you get thrown off, Chris. The food items, and this is why I did it because I knew you were gonna. This is what you're gonna key in on. The food items. You need a food blog where you can express your distaste and dislike for food or drinks that give other people pleasure that you don't understand.
Oh, I definitely don't. I
Yeah, I think
de-
you do because this ticks you off. Like you can't, you just can't picture drinking something like this. You can't
well,
imagine me.
the question I have again: does it taste like pumpkin?
It tastes good to me.
That's not the question. The question is, does it taste like pumpkin?
It tastes, yes, a sweetened pumpkin. Yes.
No, it doesn't. You're just saying that now because you know it doesn't. You don't want to admit that it doesn't.
It just get the pumpkin flavor, Chris.
I actually am concerned now whether or not people in this country actually know what pumpkin tastes like. I'm starting to get concerned.
Well, I
Well,
think
I've
there's
never had pumpkin, so I don't know.
I think there's a direct correlation to the more Americans are exposed to the true taste of pumpkin, the more violence we're going to see because pumpkin is absolutely disgusting. Um,
It doesn't taste good.
It's good. Y'all don't
no,
understand
raw
how
pumpkin,
good it
Malika,
is.
like
That's what it
Malika,
is. Y'all don't understand what tastes, what is succulent, what tastes
no.
well.
If you were to
Y'all,
get a
your taste
pumpkin,
buds are off.
no, if you were to get a pumpkin out of the field like you would a watermelon, cut it open and eat it, you would feel cursed.
It's like it's not even as good as like butternut squash, to be honest. Like that's why we only use it during autumn for pumpkin pie. We got two other voices up here. We've got Kent, just the old clan in the mudflats of Portland. We have Hoop Spaces Ryan. Micah is finally back with us. We're 15 minutes over, but we'll go to Kent. Kent, what you got?
Hey, man, I'm going to disagree with you on that hot dog thing about 20 minutes or so off your life. Eating a hot dog while watching my Blazers tank took at least a day off my life every time. And that's all I got to say. Have a good weekend, you guys.
Oh man, coming in, dropping the mic, Kent, just the old clan in the mudflats of Portland. Man, just giving it to the Blazers and hot dog fans everywhere. Ryan, I'm gonna get you after Micah. Micah, you got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Yeah. As far as pumpkin spice coffee goes, yeah, Mavs admin kind of ruined that for me. Don't ask. But anyways, final thoughts on, yeah, I think it's broom time because I thought Connecticut would have a better shot because it looked like when they played against Chicago, they were learning how to play John Quill and AT off of each other better. But for whatever reason, they've fallen away from that. So I think they're swept. They're done. But that's my final closing thoughts.
Right.
Also, cheesecake is awesome.
God, it's just so prevalent today.
You can't help
He
yourself, Chris.
right.
You can't help it. You want to say? Go ahead and say what you want to say,
I
Chris.
didn't need to. Danny said it. I don't need to say it. Mike has been.
Cheesecake is wonderful. That's what I was about to say. But the pumpkin stuff, no.
Mike has been on this on Twitter with the cheesecake thing because he just refuses to accept my objective thoughts on it. Ryan, Hoop Spaces, Ryan. One of the big reasons why we have what we have and what we'll be building into the future and growing. Hoop Spaces, Ryan. What do you have? Because for some reason you didn't come up until after I made my comment about pumpkin coffee.
All right, good morning. So I learned something yesterday, and Mr. Worldwide Food Knowledge and everything. I'm curious if you already knew this. Did you know that chicken parmesan was not originated in Italy? I'm guessing you knew that.
Yes, I hijacked the whole show.
Okay. Now, something I learned yesterday was not only did it originate from Italian Americans, but do you know what they do in Australia with chicken parmesan?
I do not.
They
This
serve
isn't
it
the.
with French fries.
Oh, that's just do that in England.
Not only
Oh.
do they serve it with French fries, do you know that there is a debate in Australia? They debate in Australia, do you serve the French fries on the side or,
Or
and this hurts me, or do you put the French fries underneath the chicken parm?
okay. So the Queen passed. Regardless of what your feelings are, she passed. Okay, so let's have some respect for someone who passed away. Australia has a chance to move out of the Commonwealth, right? Like the Queen was the head of state. King Charles III is now the head of state. That is something that British do with their fries or their potatoes, and they put them in like the regular idea sandwiches that we would have. And I can't. It's so bad. So what we need to do is we need to get Thai and every Australian fan we know, and allow them to understand that we don't want to do this. We want to save their taste buds from the harshness of two inferior food items: the chicken parm sandwich and French fries. Can't
But
do it.
here's the thing that I've noticed with the Australians and the chicken parm and the pumpkin everything is that human beings, when they think they're about to die, convince themselves that their last meal is delicious because pumpkin being part of Thanksgiving, I think people forget the pilgrims thought they were going to die. Okay. And Australians with the king slayer spiders and the snakes and the most poisonous top 10 whatever species that God ever made in several lists, they think they're going to die. They could die any day just from checking their mail in their mailbox and walking through their grass barefoot. So that's what's going on. And that's the study I would like to have made because that's clearly what's going on. There's clearly correlation and causation here. And I'm glad we brought this to light.
Thank you, Ryan, for coming up and sharing this travesty. It's just horrible news.
There's one last little tidbit here in Australia. Do you know that they don't call it chicken parmesan in Australia? There is also a debate of what to call it. Does anyone know what the debate of in Australia between two things of what you call a chicken parm sandwich?
Oh wow. I have well, okay. So it's Australia.
Correct. And
Don't
this is
tell me they call it parmy.
half of them call it parmy, half of them call it a parma. I'm not joking. I'm not making this up. They will fight over it. I'm not joking. They get paid.
Oh, I love it. Parma, and then fisticuffs.
Oh yeah, they'll fight over. They'll get mad. They'll call each other cunt. Oh sorry.
Yeah, good
Show.
catch. Good catch.
But they will call each other words that I can't say right now.
Good catch. All right. You know what? Point to Hoops Faces Ryan for coming with some food news. We're joined by Jasmine. She's going to get the last word in, and so she can talk about whatever she wants, and she can take as much time as she wants. She probably missed the best part of the entire 2 hour plus conversation when we got into the food convo. Jasmine, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. You know, I'm fresh off the clock. I missed a lot. Don't really know what was happening with the food takes. I did pop into the pumpkin spice latte. That's not really my style.
Point. That's good. Point to you.
I just came to say, how about them aces? Y'all already know what it is. Asia or die. We don't do anything less than that over here. I went to sleep at halftime because I had to be up in the morning, but I knew they were going to take care of business. And Kelsey Plum, that girl, that dog, woo, 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 had to get her in real quick. That's what I'm talking about. And if they want to go ahead and clean it up tomorrow night, fine. I had Connecticut and I had Vegas in 4. Sorry, Vegas in 4. I was gonna give Connecticut 1, but I guess that was a little too much for them. Sorry to y'all.
I love it. Asia Wilson or die. That's the last words spoken by Jasmine. You can follow her, by the way. Harper XX Wright. She writes for Winsider, covering the Dallas Wings. You should follow her. She's dope. And she's funny. And like me, she knows that pumpkin spice, nah, that ain't it.
That ain't it.
All right, we appreciate everybody who came through your Wednesday Hoop Spaces, your Hump Day. Thank you for spending any amount of your time. Powered by Audiolabs.io. If you missed any part, hold up, wait, Audible. Jay Nicky is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody, give my man Jay Nicky a huge round of applause. This guy went from being Knicks chatted day after Rookie of the Year, right? He came in, he flamed people here on Hoop Spaces. He got onto the Knicks wall, but this man just took another step, and he is now going to be an NBA freelance creative. Give a big round of applause to Jay Nicky, ladies and gentlemen. We want to make sure we give everybody a big up and a positive, backing, man. Like, we are happy for you, bro. We love to see it. All right, there we go. Sorry, Jasmine, you got usurped for a good cause, though. Pumpkin spice latte, still not it. If you're drinking it, you're wrong. I'm sorry if you disagree. You can at me or at Jasmine. Just make sure you follow us when you do it. We could use the numbers. Thank you,
And
everybody.
come with the heat too. Don't half step with it.
Oh, that would be such a great soundbite. I might use that. I'm not even lying. I want to thank our sponsor. She's laughing. I might. I want to thank our sponsor, Slam Goods. You can check them out, slamgoods.com. You can use the promo code Hoop Spaces for 15% off, entire site wide. I urge you to make your first purchase a copy of the pickup card game. And if you listened earlier, Jay the Wakanda told you what 15% off of 25 is. You'll save money. You do it. And then to honor James, you take that savings, you go to Costco, and you get yourself a hot dog. And you think of James. All right, that's the show, everybody. Appreciate it. Slamgoods.com is the place to buy all your gear. 15% off. Promo code Hoop Spaces. See you Friday, 10 a.m. Maybe the Aces sweep. They probably do. Peace.